Watcha you crazy cats, and welcome to Dazzle Rebel Rides. Now, last week I had the fantastic privilege of test riding the brand new Suzuki Katana ahead of its official UK launch later on this month. And in this video, you're going to get to see my first impressions. Let's roll VT. This is the 2019 Suzuki Katana, a 999cc inline 4 making 150 horsepower from the K5 Gixxer lineage. It is matched to a lightweight alloy frame which in turn connects you to the road via adjustable front and rear suspension and specifically developed Dunlop rubber. I was at the packed reveal of this bike at the Intermot show in Cologne back in October 2018, and my first impressions of the bike were admittedly a little lacklustre. Again at the Katana Roadshow, when I got the chance to sit on the bike, I wasn't exactly thrilled by the new Suzuki offering. So I wouldn't say I was chomping at the bit to get this bike out on the road. However, as is often the case, I should have reserved my judgment for the actual test ride. From the moment you press the quick start ignition button, it becomes clear that this won't just be a bimble in the countryside, it will be an event. One of the things that Suzuki do better than most is provide their motorcycles with a strong engine and throaty exhaust note as standard. The Katana is no exception. Of course, you could amplify that tasty exhaust note further by adding a Yoshimura or similar exhaust. But in truth, unless you have a particularly antisocial streak, which I have to admit that I do, you don't really need to. Suzuki pride themselves in giving the rider a visceral experience, and the Katana is bang on the money. For fast group riding or just fast riding full stop, it's a fantastic bike. It's just not the sort of riding I'm into myself. As you know, I'm more like Captain Slow. I'm slow, steady, and I just enjoy the ride. But it is phenomenal fun if you're into sports riding. It is. It's a cracking bike. As far as road handling goes, this bike can hustle. On the most part, it is predictable and any mistakes are easily corrected. However, one criticism is, although the suspension is adjustable, the stock settings were a little highly sprung for me. It's no secret, of course, that I am not exactly a sporty rider and my preference is for comfort over speed, so this might just be me, but I would like to have seen the bike set up a little softer from the factory without having to play around with it too much when you get the bike home. Whoa, shit. Fuck me. I actually got air then. That was unsettling, but fun. Oh, I think I just vomited. If you're used to harder sport riding now, the setup might be okay for you, but I would suspect that at least a decent chunk of potential customers are not looking for an out-and-out sporty feel when they have this bike in their crosshairs. With the UK roads not having the smoothest of road surfaces, probably arguably one of the worst in Europe, maybe dealers will recognise this and back off the firmness when they get their demo bikes into the showrooms. For the style of bike, the riding position is comfortable enough, with a generous seat by modern naked bike standards for both rider and passenger. I'm 5'7" with a 28-inch inside leg and I could get both feet touching the asphalt when I sat on the bike. The reach to the bars is a little aggressive compared to some naked bikes, but still comfortable enough for me. The rider's foot pegs are in a neutral position for the style of bike, Not too aggressively tucked back like some rear clip-ons, but not too relaxed either. So, comfort-wise, it's something I've not really talked about. I'm pretty sure the bars are different to the GSX-S, but the seat is quite comfortable. You are probably, I'd have to sit back on one, but I'm pretty sure if you do it side by side, you are a bit more over the front bars than you are with the GSX-S. In all honesty, I think you'd run out of go juice before you started to feel uncomfortable, and this is particularly due to the 12 litre fuel capacity. Conservatively, I would estimate the average rider would get around 120 to 130 miles before you started to worry running out of gas. But I would suspect that more aggressive riders would be looking to refuel every 100 miles or less. That said, I think if most riders are honest with themselves, that would be more than adequate for the short weekend trips they tend to ride. Fit and finish on the Suzuki Katana is better than on many of their bikes, which isn't to say that it is totally premium, but it's not totally cheap and cheerful either. By modern Japanese standards, the mouldings are towards the premium end for a sub 12 grand motorcycle, and it's perfectly acceptable. So there we go, it's some information there on the dash. Been averaging 46.2 mpg, which for the sort of riding we've actually been doing ain't bad at all. That's actually quite damn good. Done 37 miles. It was pretty sure it was on zero when it came, when I got it. And it said it was a 100-mile tank range. It's now saying 86, so ain't been doing too bad. As you would expect, Suzuki are launching a range of all the usual accessories, such as screens, various bolt-ons and graphics to tart the bike up, but curiously the coloured accessory seat doesn't add any extra comfort to the stock seat, and you wonder why it wasn't as standard anyway. So to summarise, Suzuki are pitching this bike at the rider who values style above all else. Within Suzuki's own range, the direct competition comes from the GSX-S 1000 and GSX-S 1000F, which both share the Katana's engine and chassis. Both the GSX-S 1000 models have a larger 17 litre fuel tank, so if range is more important to you than style, then one of those models would be better suited. However, for two-up riding, I would actually probably swing towards the Katana, as the pillion seat looks to be a more generous option, being both wider and longer. So what are my thoughts? Well, it feels a lot like the GSX-S 1000 because, you know, it's based on it. Here we go, 30 mile an hour roll on in third. There's 60. So where does it sit within the overall competition? Well, Suzuki are clear that this isn't a heritage model or a modern retro. More of a modern interpretation of the early 1980s Katana. It's an homage rather than a recreation. So for that reason, like some other Suzukis, it sort of sits in a category of its own. The most direct competition is probably the Honda CB1000R, which is slightly more expensive and slightly down on power. Not having ridden the CB1000R, I can only go off other ride reports, which suggest it's an overall softer package than the Katana. Other bikes that might be on a potential Katana customer's radar include the Kawasaki Z900 RS and the Yamaha XSR 900, both of which are cheaper than the Katana but significantly down on power and spec. All things considered, I would suggest that the Katana will be purchased first and foremost for its style. Although at its heart is a performance-driven naked that will reward those who like to push their ride a little harder than most. For me, it would suit someone coming off full-on sports bikes but looking for a little more comfort and unique style whilst retaining most of the sports capability. I do think the throttle has changed. It's certainly since the last time I did ride the GSX-S. You know, the more I ride it, I think that it has got some significant differences, and that is in third gear. When I've ridden in third gear before at 30 mile an hour, it has been quite jumpy, the throttle, but they seem to have completely sorted that out, which is a plus point, I suppose, for people who would potentially be buying this sort of bike. In that, I would assume that most people won't really be the sportier riders. The Katana has the potential to be an absolute weapon in the right hands and will have no trouble keeping up with most superbikes in real road riding situations. Those customers looking for an easygoing retro will actually probably find the Katana a little bit of an animal, as it does like to go. Although the 3-mode traction control, RPM assist, easy handling and, least not forget, that torquey GSX-R 1000 derived engine mean that this is perfectly capable of performing commuting, touring and nice and steady cruising tasks if you so wish. And that's my first ride on the brand new Suzuki Katana, folks. Just my first thoughts and impressions, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be getting the opportunity to spend a little bit more time with one later on this year. So if you're keen to see if my opinion changes with a little bit more time spent in the saddle and you like the vibe, be sure to subscribe. Hit that notification bell when you do, and I'll see you next time. Bye.